everyone. Welcome to another episode of Side Draft Media. My name is Don. With me, my co-host Ryan. We are here to talk everything first round of the playoffs, Atlanta. What a great race we got to experience today. Some surprising thing happened. Some not so much surprising things happened, but overall, still a great race. Still very entertaining with the strategy, and of course, we had overtime. But before we get to all that, Ryan, I just want to shout out our amazing sponsors that have been with us from almost the very beginning. Mr. Don Tucker and Tucker'd Out Custom Diecast Displays. He makes these custom 3D printed displays for your 124 diecast. Does an amazing job. I absolutely love my 2311 one. He can make them for any team, any colors you want, get logos you want, sponsors. Just reach out to him. He'll tell you what you need to do. We'll provide his link down in the description. So make sure you contact him for that. Also, we got to shout out Adrenaline Rush Collectibles group on Facebook. They've got all sorts of memorabilia, hats, die-cast, anything you're looking for, they probably got it on their group. Make sure you go check them out. We'll leave their link down there also. Like I was saying, Ryan, man, we had a heck of a first round playoff race today with the Cup boys there at Atlanta. What do you got for me, man? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, Atlanta did not disappoint. I mean, we had broke it down as a potential wild card race as the very first race of the playoffs, and again, it did not disappoint. We start the race off. The Fords unloaded extremely fast in practice and qualifying.
No surprise there.
There was blue ovals all over the front of the field, and the Penske cars were very strong out of those Fords up front early on. We fast forward a little bit to lap 56, and we saw just moment where Larson going into the corner overcorrects it a little bit, gets loose, overcorrects, and just snaps into a violent hit into the wall, comes back down and collects a fellow playoff contender in Chase Briscoe. They're both out of the race. Just a vicious hit for Larson, and really a double hit on Larson because he cracks the wall, slides back down. Briscoe says, I just couldn't get slow and nowhere to go. Plows right into Kyle Larson, again, ruining both of their days. And
real quick, shout out to everyone that put a second of safety measures into these race cars. They don't get the credit and love they deserve, but both of those guys got out of those race cars and walked away, and they're able to go home with their families tonight because of those people.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And vicious hit. It's always great to see those guys walk away. I listened to the 5 and the 14 immediately on the scanner, make sure that they were both, talking. And, Kyle Larson was trying to explain like almost immediately what happened. He goes, I don't know. He goes, and then, you hear through the scanners after the incident happened, they're like, did the 5 lose a tire? Or, and that was not the case. It was just an overcorrect issue. And, you hear even some of the other championship contending drivers in the playoffs saying, yeah, there's a moment or two where I thought that could have happened to me.
And Reddick, the first stage and a half, thought he was going to wreck the whole time. I mean, he was genuinely.
Reddick was one of those drivers where he said, I thought that was going to happen to me at least once or twice this stage. So,
does that raise any cause of concern for NASCAR at Atlanta? Should they look into that? Is there anything they can look into, or?
No, I think what it is, honestly, is that Atlanta is a handling track as much as it is a plate track on top of it. Where handling may not come into play on the big plate track like Talladega and Daytona, and even Daytona is more of a handling track than Talladega, but Atlanta is more magnified in my opinion. It's smaller, and just the way that the lanes work and things of that manner. I believe that handling is important on a track like this. You heard about it the entire race. Something that the Toyotas struggled on all weekend. A lot of the Toyotas just seemed that they had to keep working on those things to get it right, to handle in larger packs and get through traffic okay. But that caution between Larson Briscoe, that did end stage 1. We saw Ryan Blaney was the winner of that stage, and Austin Cindric finished P2 in that stage.
Penske flexing all over the place, man. That was crazy.
Yeah. We get back going green for a while, and then another caution comes out on lap 115 due to debris. There's a big piece of metal on the front stretch, which triggered pit stops. It was right around that time where we're going to be possibly seeing needing tires anyway. But I'll tell you what, if a tire had met that debris, it would have been a disaster, similar to Larson barreling into the corner. How we saw him overcorrect it. If a tire goes down going in the corner, would have been a similar hit. So I'm
Right.
glad that NASCAR reacted so quickly with that metal being out there. Get that caution out, get it off the track. We did see Austin Cindric end up winning stage 2. So
I
he
think
had
he
a
led
really
about
good
90 laps, if I remember
yeah,
correctly.
he had a really strong 2 car out front
Absolutely.
today. It's something that we talked about. You had talked about in the pre-race breakdown last week episode that the Penske boys were going to come out strong, and we had even talked about Austin Cindric, being such a good plate racer. He is. He definitely showed up today, and
It
he's a
looked like
playoff driver too.
he just got trapped in
But
the back after one of those pit cycles, and he could never quite get back up there. But it would have.
yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised if they went 1, 2, 3 today. To be completely honest with you.
Right, right. They were very strong, very, very strong. Stage 3, we started off with Ross Chastain in the lead, and he was a car that we had seen both the Trackhouse cars up front throughout the race today. Fast forward a little bit, yellow on lap 175 for John Hunter Nemechek, the 42 car crashed. It was just loose and whipped around.
Yep.
Very,
And thank
very
goodness he didn't take anyone with him. My goodness.
yeah, I mean he did hit the inner wall uh with carrying some decent speed, but so his day was over. Chastain was still in the lead at that point. Cars come in pit for fuel a little bit later, and topping off because there is conserving fuel for potential fuel mileage race at the end of this thing.
Right.
But then well, we did see another incident with yellow around lap 206, I do believe. Christopher Busher, Chris Busher overcorrects. Incident similar to Kyle Larson. This thing just stepped out. Now, in this case, though, he hits the 12 of Blaney. Blaney hits the 19 of Truex. Christopher Bell just flat out just missed this thing.
Yep.
Happened right in front of his windshield.
And if I remember
But
correctly, Reddick was right behind him. So both of those playoff contenders
yeah,
could have been involved in that. That was nuts.
yeah. Bush, yeah, I can't believe that wreck wasn't bigger than it was.
Right.
Busher took his 17 Ford immediately to the garage. He was done. Blaney had damage, but it was cosmetic. It was fixed. Because we'll fast forward a little bit later because Ryan Blaney plays a key factor into this race later on. But
Real
Blaney
quick,
did hit the night.
shout out to Lionel. Let's get a checkers or wreckers on that 12 car because that thing looked cool after the race.
Yeah. Blaney hitting the 19 car of Truex. Truex had a pretty strong car. He started towards the back. He was one of the Toyotas that we actually saw being able to carve his way through traffic,
Right.
constantly picking off cars. But that pretty much ruined his day. That accident ruined his day.
Yep.
Took him out of contention. He went several laps down. Never recovered. Kyle Busch then takes the green with about 50 laps to go. Racing starting to get dicey. We did see a new leader take over from Kyle Busch. The 54 of Ty Gibbs actually led a chunk of the laps, and then Daniel Suarez became a leader, flexing again. Trackhouse was flexing their muscle out front, and if y'all remember, Daniel Suarez won the spring race at Atlanta, so he is good there.
By that much.
But yeah. About 11 laps to go, though, a debris caution came out. A piece of signage flew onto the racetrack, and they had to get that cleared up. Fuel mileage then no longer became an issue. There was going to be questions on the window. It was going to be tight,
Right.
especially if, as the laps were clicking away. The racing was getting really good. And then with that caution, getting everything cleared up, quickie yellow, the race got going green with 5 laps to go, and then it came back out with 2 laps to go because the 10 car crashed. Noah Gragson crashed when had some contact with the 21.
Right.
Noah had a hard hit to the inside wall, and then we go into NASCAR overtime. So it always seems to be one of those things on a plate race, especially when you start to pile up cautions at the end of the race, regardless of what they're for, and you re-rack when it's money time. It always seems to bring out, bring yellows breed yellows, cautions breed
Yeah,
cautions type
cautions
of
breed
deal.
cautions, my friend. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Absolutely right.
And we get into overtime. We see the two Trackhouse cars in the top four, two Penske cars of Ryan Blaney, who, again, I want to speak on this because that 12 car was fast the entire day.
Right.
There was times where he was leading early on, but he was in that accident we spoke of, and they fixed it enough to where he was very competitive and was able. It goes to show how strong of a car he had too, because he was able to knife his way through traffic to be relevant at the end of this race in the top four on this final caution. And Ryan Blaney ultimately was a deciding factor in who was going to win this race. We had two Trackhouse cars, two Penske cars, Joey Logano in the 22 being the beneficiary. Now he did take control of that lead on that last restart in overtime. So Logano was the leader, but man, he got a heck of a push from his teammate Ryan Blaney. It was a corporate win, basically, getting that
Right.
push from the 12 team and worked out well. The 22 car, Joey Logano, who is a playoff driver, advances into the round of 12.
Would
So
you
hats off to.
would it be safe to say that the 12 has one in the back pocket now from the 22? 22 owes him a push at Talladega, maybe?
I mean, at least that, or a nice steak dinner with a few cocktails.
Right.
It is one.
Right.
It's one of the two.
Right.
And you see how much come playoff time. I mean, you see it anyway with the team sports and the drivers and stuff. But you saw Ryan Blaney. He had a cold one in his hand. Giving knuckles to all of the Logano crew, dumping a
Poured a
little bit
little
of
bit
cold one
down
down
Joey's
Logano.
back share. That
Yeah,
was
and
cool.
and it was so it was well celebrated. Cindric was in victory lane as well. It takes so much to win these races,
Right.
and the guys and the guys that are behind the wheels of these cars know it, and to see them going in and appreciating the over the wall crew and the race crew that helps get these cars up front and help keep them there. It was great to see that team camaraderie in victory lane, and I know it meant a lot to obviously Team Penske to get the first one into the playoffs, and great momentum for Logano. We've seen this before with Joey Logano. Joey Logano is a man who, when he catches fire in the playoffs, he's tough out,
Yep.
and we know as well that Joey did not have a good playoffs last year.
Correct.
So for them to start off with a win in the books and know that they're at least advancing into the round of 12 come
And let's not forget
Kansas.
Penske is back-to-back champions right now.
Right.
So they
Logano.
always know how to take care of the playoffs when they get here. Now Joey did have a rough go at it last year, but they still ended up a
Right.
champion with the 12 cars. So
Yeah, Logano and Blaney back to back, and they could, as a team, win three in a row. That's crazy. That's crazy
absolutely.
talk. And we're getting ahead of ourselves here because there's a lot of racing to go yet in the season, and a lot can happen. But at least for the 22 car and Team Penske knows that one of their blue ovals is proceeding into the next round of the postseason. He's locked in because we know in the postseason and even in the regular season, under normal circumstances, it's a win and in. So we're now moving on to Watkins Glen, where everybody who didn't cross the start finish line, first today has to pick themselves up, whether it was bad luck, and boy, was there a lot of it, because we're going to talk about that, because the accidents early on and the bad luck that we had seen, there was such a handful of drivers from the playoffs that we talk about the bubble, right? The cut line between the 12 and those bottom four that are going to get cut
Right.
and not be able to advance into the next round. And man, do we see the point shakeup today? I mean, with Larson early having that incident, he went from being the points leader and having a 35-point cushion to the cut line to now only plus 15. He lost 20 of those points, and then dropped back to 10th overall in the playoff standings right now. Another driver who was right there with him was Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe is now in 16th spot, 21 below the cut line to make it to the round of 12. Now, I'm
Right.
not going to say it's too soon to say that Briscoe needs to win to advance, because we know that one race, 21 points, honestly, is not a lot, Don. We know this
Right.
right now. But it just goes to show with their margin for error is over, right? They have to come out at Watkins Glen and then Bristol. They have to be spot on. They
And
have to have good.
Briscoe has shown a lot of talent at not only road courses, but he's shown a lot of speed at Bristol too. So he will be in the hunt.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're not out of it by any means. And the 14 crew knows that as well. It's just they have to put this behind them quick,
Right.
and hit the reset button. This is unfortunately, when you're in a plate race environment, this is the stuff that it could either eat you alive, or at the end of the day, you could be on the other side of it going, "Whew, we dodged this race," and on to the next, where we know we're going to be a lot better.
Right.
There are a lot of teams that were thinking that at the end of this race today, and then there are the ones that the misfortunate ones, that don't get to say that. And we're talking to the likes of the drivers who finished in the bottom half of the bottom four drivers in this race are playoff drivers, Don. So
Right.
in 38th finishing order today was Chase Briscoe, 37th was Larson, 36th was Chris Buescher, who just barely missed it. I apologize. Bottom three. Chris
Right.
Buescher had barely missed the postseason. And the 35th spot was Martin Truex Jr., who just made it by the skin of his teeth last week, and then gets caught up in an accident early on. Harrison Burton caught up in an accident. He is a playoff driver. He finished 31st. He had a strong Ford today. He
He
was in the top 10.
absolutely.
He was in the top 10. You saw the 21. Okay, you
Right.
knew they were there. They came to play this weekend, and
No
but
surprise with them being alliance with Penske and those boys. So it was not surprising to see
right.
that one show a lot of strength today.
Right, absolutely. But of those lower 30s finishing order drivers, three of them are in the bottom three, in the playoff cut right now, and
Right.
that's not a surprise either. When you can't finish a race, and then the people you're racing against for this do finish a lot higher than you, that's where those big gaps start to come from. So right now, like I said, we see Chase Briscoe 21 points below the cut. Going into Watkins Glen, Martin Truex is 19 below the cut. Harrison Burton 16 below the cut to the top 12.
Right.
1 point below the cut is Brad Keselowski. He's in 13th. 1 point below the cut line, which means the 12th place cut is +1 at Ty Gibbs. Another person I want to talk about, Don, is Denny Hamlin. The 20 car had issues this weekend with the engine. We know that they were looking at things, and a handful of the Toyota teams decided to change plug wires before the start of this race.
Right. They were not getting
To,
any power to those
to,
motors, and they
to,
could not figure out
to
why.
yeah, so there were a handful of Toyota drivers that opted to change the spark plug wires going into this race. They dropped down to the rear of the field and had to climb the ladder, but they erred on the side of caution. We did not see any Toyota engine issues during the race, so I will say
Right.
that seems like they figured out what the issue was this weekend
Correct.
with bad batch of spark plug wires. I don't know exactly the inner workings of that, but if that's what three teams decided to do before the start of the race and sacrifice valuable track position in order to avoid engine woes,
There
and
had to have
more.
been a damn
And
good reason.
yeah, exactly. So where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Right.
But Denny Hamlin, obviously having those issues back to the rear anyway, did not see much of the 11 car. Now, he rode the entire race pretty much in the back.
Correct.
There were a couple times he came on the radio and said, "I feel like there's going to be a big wreck. I don't want to get involved in this. I just want to hang out back here." They didn't make a fight for any stage points.
It was a very
They
surprising game call by the
they
11 team today.
I'm scratching my head, because Denny Hamlin's a guy chasing a championship, okay?
Correct.
And there's that fine line between cautious and being aggressive, and then just being overly cautious to the fact that you're not even you're almost like not even competitive. Like, and then he ends up getting caught up in a wreck anyway to finish this race.
Right.
And we see his playoff cushion, the little bit that he had, and thank God he had a good one. Yeah,
Plus
thank God he
two.
had a decent one after those penalty implications. But now he's only +2 to the cut line. He's in 11th place. So the 11 team is in 11th place going into Watkins Glen, 2 positions above the cut line. A bad race at Watkins Glen for the 11 team, and it
They're
could be
staring
an
down the barrel of
absolute
an early exit, my
it,
friend.
it could be an absolute nightmare of a postseason for
You
this
want to
week.
talk about
Like,
collapses that we don't really see this often? This would be a devastating collapse to go from 3. I think he hit that 4th win. Did he hit a 4th win this season, or did he just land the 3 and then Bristol was taken away?
right, yeah.
Either
So
way, he had a very strong season, and then when it got to like week 20 or so, we just saw either bad luck,
a
Richmond,
lot of
or
a lot of
just
caught up in other people's stuff too. Yeah.
whatever could go wrong was going to go wrong for the 11 car. Now, what I want to ask you, Ryan, is when do we start questioning Denny? Because is this a mental thing with Denny now? Is he like, are we really doing this thing again? Did we really have another great season just to fall apart in the playoffs?
So I listened to his post-race interview, and it left me with a lot of question because he basically said, in quote, that he wanted to get 20 points out of this race.
Right.
He didn't.
He did not.
So he did not, but he also said he wasn't worried about it. But at the end of the day, he also said, I only want to get 20. Like, who goes into a race saying, well, like with the lowest like I guess like it almost like he didn't want to set himself up for failure. And like
And then he
I
set
don't know
himself
what
up for
type of
failure.
yeah, and like I don't understand the approach between him and Chris Gabehart, who are a dynamic duo, a
Absolutely.
veteran of a veteran savvy duo who we've seen win a ton of races in this sport together. Like,
They are a
um,
championship caliber team. Let's just call it what
right.
it is.
Absolutely. And they have all the equipment to get it done.
Right.
But like just this approach just seemed odd.
He was so
And I'll
aggressive
be
all season long,
and
from top to bottom, and then all of a sudden this switch flipped, and it seems like
yeah.
they're scared of their own shadow right now. It's really strange what's going on in that 11 camp.
And and you can't say that the whole team crapped the bed because they didn't. The
Right.
54 was in contention to win late. Ty Gibbs even said in his post-race interview he failed to block properly,
Right.
and didn't drive as aggressive as he should have while he was up front.
That's when Bubba got around him.
Uh-huh. And because there was a point where I'm like, whoa, is Ty Gibbs gonna get one? Like
Right.
he was flexing muscle. The 19 before he got caught up in an incident was flexing muscle. Christopher Bell was flexing muscle. Got a great finish, by the way. But like I don't and actually Seabell was the highest finishing out of the Gibbs drivers, but the Gibbs drivers, it's not like they all showed up and were lacking speed. Okay. We're
Right.
not going down that road because it was not the case. The
Right.
19 was fast, the 54 was fast, the 20 was fast. So I don't know what excuses that the 11's going to make. There really aren't any. I feel like they just were way too cautious.
Do
Way
you
too
think they're
cautious.
putting all their eggs into Bristol and they're just assuming they're going to go into Bristol and
And
win that race?
And here's the thing: they won Bristol earlier this year, right? And then that's
Right.
also the race. That's also the race, though, that where the TRD mishap between them and JGR and the engine getting torn down, a race used engine getting torn down before it was inspected by NASCAR. All this blah blah blah, right? But
Right.
we know they were good and fast at Bristol. Bristol's a great track for Denny Hamlin. We're not discounting that, but there is too much at stake
Correct.
in such a short amount of time to lay one down like they
Correct.
did today.
I just don't understand the game plan. It's not
I
like them to be so aggressive and be successful being aggressive all season long just to start playing it safe in the playoffs. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Something's not adding up in the 11 camp, and they need to get figured out real quick.
Yeah, it's like they were in their own heads. And
Correct. That's what I think.
whatever it is, for their sake, I hope Watkins Glen doesn't turn into a disaster because I mean, listen, you could go into a chicane there or something, and you could get punted, and it could ruin your day.
Absolutely.
So it could, or it's a tricky pit road, so you could have issues on pit road, or there's two at a road course. There's never guarantees, right? And road courses are like they're the opposite of a plate race in the sense of the calamity that can occur in such a quick second at a plate race, but in the same respect, you have to respect the course you're racing on. And Watkins Glen is a fast road course,
Correct.
but it's still
It's
not
not
an easy.
forgiving.
It's not an easy race, so no road course is. They're all challenges, and it's not like we're. And that's why I like this round of the playoffs because there's no guarantees.
Right.
Even Bristol's not a guarantee to anybody,
Absolutely right.
because
Especially with the tire mayhem we had last time. Everybody's kind of
yeah.
questioning that
Mhm.
upcoming race too.
And you're racing in a bathtub. So if you wreck or if somebody in front of you wrecks, it's hard to miss. So, the speed's not the same as Atlanta, but
Right.
you're still in those close quarters. So again, with the margin for errors, you just really can't afford to lay one down like they did, and it's really questionable. I don't think I'll ever understand it, because we're not there. We're not in that team. I don't know, but like from an outsider perspective looking in, and even other experts in the industry were
They're
questioning this
they're
one.
literally going, what are they doing? Like,
Yeah, and like
so
and this yeah, so I mean, we'll see. And that leaves us to look at a lot of the other playoff standings. So, we'll run through it. We talked about Ty Gibbs being one above the cut, Denny Hamlin being two above the cut. In 10th place is Kyle Larson, 15 above the cut.
right.
Another bad race for Larson. He could be going, uh-oh, and again, for all the same reasons we just talked about Denny Hamlin, um, you know, Bristol could, Bristol could easily become calamity corner for somebody.
Right.
It's inevitable. It's gonna happen. Playoff drivers are gonna get caught up in an accident. Bristol, we know it's gonna happen, right?
Right.
It's not like we have to try hard to speak that into existence. That's the drama of Bristol.
That's short
It's just
track
a matter
racing,
of
baby. That's what it
yeah.
is.
It's just a matter of who. But then we talk about Watkins Glen, and Watkins Glen is a race Kyle Larson is very capable of winning. I've
Right.
seen him win it. We've seen him win it with our own eyes in both the Xfinity and the Cup Series. So
Correct.
he's got to have a little breath of fresh air, knowing that that's a track that he's had success at and has parked it there. So and ran very very well there. And Hendrick Motorsports as a whole is coming off. They're the defending team that won this race last year, not the
Right.
5 car, but Hendrick Motorsports. So, he's got to feel a little bit of confidence going into Watkins Glen, knowing that. But still, you can't predict these races, so anything can happen. And 15 above the cut, you know, I'm sure it's going to weigh in the back of their mind a little bit because Atlanta didn't go the way they wanted it to.
Absolutely. Look, these guys are human. When you go from
Mhm.
starting the playoffs in P1, you were the first seed in the playoffs, and in a matter of 56 laps, you're dropping down to 10th
10th.
place. Like you're dropping
Yikes.
down to
Yeah.
10th place. You're flirting with the bubble. I think that puckers up a little bit inside of the entire team
Yeah.
and Hendrick
Yeah.
Motorsports because I think they're putting a lot of their eggs into that basket too, as far as Larson making a deep run into this playoffs. Now, William Byron also nothing to skip over by any means. I know you'll get to him in a second, but as far as Kyle
Yeah.
Larson, I would definitely be worried headed into the next couple weeks. He is talented at road courses. He's got Watkins Glen coming up. He is talented at Bristol, so he can kind of lean on that a little bit for some support. But like you said, nothing's guaranteed and anything can happen. And they could find themselves in a position where they're making an early exit out of these playoffs.
Absolutely. And man, that would be some news.
Absolutely.
Um, But ninth place is Daniel Suarez. He's plus 22 above the cut. He ran really strong this weekend. And road courses are actually quietly something Daniel Suarez is really good at. So,
Absolutely.
heading into Watkins Glen, the Trackhouse 99 crew's got to feel decent about going in plus 22 if they can put it in another strong performance at Watkins Glen. They really got to like their chances going into Bristol to make it above the cut.
Right.
And in eighth place is another HMS car who, I mean, in the old gen car, would be chopping his bits to get to Watkins Glen this weekend, and that's Chase Elliott. Chase
Absolutely.
Elliott's he's 24 points above the cut line, and Watkins Glen is a track that he has had a lot of success at. Maybe not as much in this new car, the new gen car, but definitely the old one. He's won races here. His first ever career win, I believe, was at Watkins Glen, so the place is special for him. And it's definitely something that I think in his post race interview, knowing that they had a decent day at Atlanta, top 10 finish, and they get to move on to Watkins Glen. I'm sure he's excited to do that at plus 24. Uh,
Absolutely.
Austin's Austin Cindric in seventh place. Again, we talked about the Penske cars. They were very fast today. I want to point out something. Austin Cindric has also been very good, especially in his Xfinity days at Watkins Glen. Okay,
Right.
so I've seen him run extremely well at Watkins Glen too. So who knows what this next week will bring for him, but he's plus 27 above the cut right now. Alex Bowman is tied with him at plus 27. I believe Bowman owns the tiebreaker.
Correct. He is
So
above Cindric in that tiebreaker
so yeah,
because of wins.
right. And then we have the fifth place car of William Byron,
Really B.
last year's winner at Watkins Glen, the defending race champion, coming in plus 33 above the cut line. We know Watkins Glen was good to him last year, and
And he's got a road course win this season. Let's not forget about Coda in
correct.
March.
Correct. So he knows how to get around a road course. There's no questions there. And Hendrick Motorsports is Hendrick Motorsports. They're going to do Hendrick Motorsports thing.
Correct.
They're bringing good equipment to the racetrack. It's just how do these races play out for these guys? But at plus 33 above the cut, he is in a situation like Larson was in this past week where he was plus 35 above the cut. So one bad race won't necessarily be the end of the world for Willie B.
But it
But
won't be comfortable.
want to be comfortable going into Bristol.
Right.
And then we get into our top four. Our regular season champion, Tyler Reddick, is in fourth place at plus 33 above the cut line. And he was ecstatic to get out of Bristol. To get out of Atlanta with a top 10 finish.
Right.
And just
They,
especially
they
when
managed that race very well today. Absolutely.
they did, and I feel like they knew that they're facing an uphill battle with handling throughout the day.
Right.
So when facing that uphill battle throughout handling, and then just trying to put yourself in a good position to finish the race, avoid the mess. Make sure you're trying to pick the right lanes when you're going through traffic on a plate race. It just worked out for them. They dodged the calamity, and a solid top 10 finish for them.
That was
Plus 30.
following a bummer of a first pit stop where other cars had a situation on pit road and he had to actually bail out of his pit and come back around and try again.
Yeah.
And they were still,
Yeah.
like you said, able to salvage that top 10 finish. I believe he finished P6. Just well done by the 45 team. That's what you want out of a playoff run.
Absolutely. It was a championship type performance from them, especially having to go to the back a couple of times because of pit road issues,
Right.
Or getting pinned in and having a slower stop because the people around them were up front racing competitively today.
They didn't let the little things get in their way of the big picture for Atlanta Motor Speedway, and that was great to see.
Correct. And in third place, we have Christopher Bell, who is plus 40 above the cut. Him and Larson were two that came in with a really good cushion today and had the polar opposite of results of the day.
Right.
Christopher Bell able to avoid, a huge wreck in front of him and finish it fourth for the day, and able to pad his cushion going into Watkins Glen. And Christopher Bell said himself out of his mouth, these next two races are where they can get a little bit more aggressive, knowing what they're getting going into the races.
Right. And it's nice having that kind of point cushion because you and your team, like you said, you can make more aggressive calls. You can take a little bit more of a gamble here. Something you might not normally do in the regular season. You might push the limits because you have that comfortable situation backing you up.
Absolutely. And Christopher Bell's first ever win in the Cup Series came on a road course, and he has been consistently good on road races.
Correct.
If it's not having a misfortune that takes the 20 team out of the race, their contenders seem, whether it be how they play strategy or just flat out have a great car for the weekend, they always seem to find themselves in the top 10 at the end of these races.
Right.
So Watkins Glen, not something I think he's sweating too much, but again, you got to go out and execute. So nothing is ever a guarantee in this sport. And oh yeah, everybody else around you plays a factor too.
By
So
the way, you got 37 guys trying to make sure you don't win also.
yeah, exactly. And then in second place, the guy who helped really catapult his teammate into a win today, and make sure that they get that corporate win is last year's defending series champion Ryan Blaney. He's got a plus 45 cushion now going into the Watkins Glen weekend. So I won't say that he looks all but safe to advance into the next round because two bad races, he could see himself slide out. But things are looking pretty confident right now for the 12 camp. And then, we slide up into first place where we know Joey Logano is locked in. So he doesn't have to come into this weekend stressing.
He's
He
just
just gets to
collecting points at this point.
go out and collect points, run your race, and see where the cards may fall at the end of the day, and then on to Bristol.
Right.
Because again, they're collecting trophies, collecting points, and
Talk to our listeners a little bit about Joey Logano and the pressure that team feels, the 22 Penske team, and how they're able to approach Watkins Glen. They're going to have kind of a little strut, right? And compared to the other 15 playoff drivers, that there's nothing guaranteed. You got Ryan Blaney plus 45. I'm eating my words because I said it 5 weeks ago. Martin Truex Jr. Oh, he's safe at plus 141. And then all of a sudden we're getting into Darlington and he's in danger of losing his playoff seed. I mean, that's how quick these points evaporate, guys. And so, Joey Logano and that crew, they're going to definitely feel good about themselves the next couple of weeks. They still got their eyes on the prize, but the rest of these guys, man, they're going to be getting after it. And it's going to put on a great show.
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful of championship contending drivers as of right now in the playoffs that did a collective overall when they pulled their car onto pit road after this race at Atlanta. I mean, we're talking about, Logano, Suarez, Blaney, Bell, Bowman, Reddick. Our top six are all in the playoffs.
Right.
And then, we had Kyle Busch, who had another strong showing. It really seems like, too little too late for the 8 camp. They really have had some good runs lately, just can't seem to get it into victory lane. And then
we'll say too little too late, and thank goodness that they're kind of turning that around, because they deserve that respect for finally RCR and the Cup side getting these guys cars that they can be proud of each weekend.
Racing for pride, right?
That's
and then it. The rest of the top 10, 8, 9, 10 are all playoff drivers as well today. So, it's that collective sigh of relief for the playoff drivers that were there in that top 10, and knowing that they had a good points day, whereas some of their competition didn't.
Right.
And, that's a big gap from first to dead last, with these guys, or even second to dead last, so really flipped and mixed up the points a little bit. And I am so excited to see how Watkins Glen turns out for multiple reasons. One, we'll go ahead and say it. This week's special because I myself will be at Watkins Glen on Saturday representing Side Draft Media. So I will be covering the Xfinity race, in the garage early, collecting data from the Xfinity teams through practice, qualifying, and then the Cup cars will take onto the track for their practice and qualifying session. And then there's prep in between for the Xfinity race in the afternoon, which is 3:00 Eastern. And I will be there to cover it all. And we're going to have fun this weekend breaking it down. But also, it's a great moment and opportunity for myself to go shake hands and say thank you to the wonderful guests that we have had, and that some that you haven't seen yet that will be appearing onto this show. Shaking hands and saying thank you for your time and the opportunity to help tell your stories, because I, for one, am just over the moon thrilled to get to see these and replay these, and not only do these interviews, but to rewatch them and just soak it all in, but to continue to get the opportunity to do them with you, Don. And I know it's something that we're all here at Side Draft Media grateful for, but to continue to build those relationships. And it's just been great, the experiences that we're doing. And it's going to be my first time at Watkins Glen as well.
That's what I was about to
You
ask.
know,
Is this going to be your first go at it, man? That's super
yeah,
exciting.
it is. Now, I was there one time, not for race weekend, but they actually, so we were on a family vacation driving up to Niagara, and on that trip up there, it's on the way. So, my dad being the race fan, he's like, we're going to stop. We're going to go see if we can see the track. And we pull into one area, and they actually had Corvettes on the track whipping
Nice.
around. And then we got to a point where they're like, nope, you can't be here, turn around. So that was it.
Right.
That's what I saw of Watkins Glen. And
But
that
that
was years
counts.
ago. We're talking like, it feels like a lifetime ago, but I remember it. But now we're going to be there in the garage,
Going to be a little
and
different view this weekend, my friend.
absolutely. We're just the entire team here is so excited. And
Right.
and then we get to follow it up. Don, go ahead and tell them.
Yeah, man. Right after that, right after Ryan unpacks everything he gets to experience this weekend with everybody there at Watkins Glen, myself and our executive producer Nathan, we are going to be hitting the road for Charlotte, and we're going to jump over to Bristol and spend the weekend with everybody in the garages and the pits there. And same story, we can't wait to just go shake hands and thank everybody that's already been a part of this journey with us, and meet new potential guests that we've been hearing that are interested in joining us also. It's just an exciting time, really, all the way around for Side Draft Media. The memories that we're going to get to create with each other and these crew members and family members is priceless, and we are just so appreciative of the opportunities given to us here in the next couple of weeks and moving forward. So, like Ryan was saying, this is a really exciting time for the team. We're setting up bars, and we're exceeding them. So, it's just. I don't have any other words other than excitement. I'm almost speechless. So
Yeah.
it's just going to be crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we started this journey getting close to 60 days prior. And, thank you to everybody who's been a part of this, the listeners, the followers, the people that will be following and listening in the future, because you all matter. And you're the reason
That's
why
it.
we started this journey. And to begin with is because we know that there's a whole nother side to NASCAR auto racing, and stories to be told, and to
Right.
be able to help shine light on that and help engage fans in a different manner, and help grow the sport, and to see the community latching onto us and accepting us, and starting to welcome us there, and the fan aspect, and the interaction that we're starting to get with fans. You're the reason why we're doing this.
Yep.
It was never ever about us. It was more, let's find a way to grow this sport, because we
Right.
love racing. We were a fan first before we decided to be media, and we're learning to be media while we're still being fans. And
Embracing both
it's a
sides of
beautiful
this
thing.
has been a lot of fun. It really has.
Yeah.
It's an incredible journey that we've already been on, and I can't wait for the possibilities that lie ahead for us. And that includes I personally, I know I can't wait to start interacting with the fans at the track. That's going to be so much fun, and
Yeah.
getting fans' perspective along with the pit crew members and their families. Like, this is all just incredible.
And that just led me into exactly what I was about to say, Don, is that if you are watching this and you are going to be at Watkins Glen this Saturday, I will do my best, especially if you're in the pit area, the fanfare area that's in the infield near the garages. Please message us, comment,
Let us know.
message, let us know, because I will do my best to come shake your hand and thank you for supporting us and our journey. Take a picture if you want, whatever may be the case. It's really fun. We're just a couple laid back dudes, who are race fans at heart, and showing that you can marry race fandom and media, and it could, if it's done right, can be done beautifully. And
Absolutely.
the reception from everybody thus far just has been wonderful with the concept that we've brought to the table in doing so.
Absolutely.
So
Well
yes,
said.
I want to meet you. I want to meet you guys. Again, it's not about us. It's about you. So and as this journey continues, we're going to make sure you guys know that. And we thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for supporting us. And I am so excited to come back and talk about Watkins Glen and the experiences that I had, but also, break down some great coverage, and look into the Xfinity series more, because I'll tell you what, there's incredible racing going on every weekend that they're on the track. These Xfinity drivers and teams put on an excellent show, and I don't think they're getting the love that they deserve and respect as well, all the
Until
time.
now.
Until now, because it's about time we change some of the narratives, and
Absolutely.
also help shine some light on these hardworking men and women, not only from the Cup garages but from the Xfinity and truck garages as well,
Right.
because they all help the sport go round. And it's all circle for us. We want to make sure everybody's getting a piece of the love, and um, so I'm
Well said,
super
my friend.
stoked, super stoked for the next couple weeks. And oh, by the way, we have some great things cooking for these exclusive interviews that everybody has loved. So please stay tuned for that, because there's a handful coming this week. And, we're just going to keep firing it off. You guys keep letting us know what you like, and we're going to do our best to bring it to you.
That's right, bud. Hey, thank you. Thank you again, Ryan. Of course, Nathan behind the scenes doing his thing as always. This has been another wonderful teardown of Atlanta Motor Speedway and Side Draft Media. Thank you, everyone that's listening. Make sure you check out our links down there if you want to get your hands on a display. Check out some Adrenaline Rush collectibles there on Facebook. Just thank you from everyone here at Side Draft Media. Comment, like, subscribe, all that great stuff, and we'll catch you on the next one. Y'all have a great night.